Hi, Ferryn. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast episode. Really excited to have a conversation with you and having you on the show as well. So, how you been anyway?
Yeah, I've been great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to kind of pick up, like, for those of you listening, we had a mini little chat like a week
Yeah.
ago. So it's really cool to be back and chatting with you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know, and we both had a lot of things in common as well. Like that's
Yeah.
why I'm looking forward to that conversation. Like we can relate to a lot of things like in past happened and like what we are dealing with right now as well. So yeah, today we have an interesting topic we're gonna talk about, which is like manifesting money with the neuroscience and backing with that. And you have advocate on that as well. So before that, I'd love to know more about yourself, like how you've been manifesting your money, like how did you come with like a business world and
Yeah.
like what actually made that change on you?
Yeah. It's really interesting conversation because I am pretty woo-woo. Like, I meditate, I do yoga, I have crystals, but I'm also very scientific. And even from the time I was a very young child, I was always trying to reconcile how I felt and saw the world with science.
Hmm.
And so I think that played a really big role on kind of how I decided to show up for my own kind of quirkiness, if that makes sense. Like, I'm from
Yeah.
Tennessee, so I'm from a very conservative area. It's not normal to be into meditation and stuff like that where I'm from, but I felt really called to it. And so I was like, okay, like there has to be, I don't know, I just always felt really drawn to bridging anything esoteric with science. So that's kind of the original thing that got me into it. And then a few years ago, so I've been doing this deeper healing work for a
Hmm.
long time. And a few years ago, I was like, I am just going to have some fun and I'm going to go into what I like to call mad manifestation mode. And I'm just going to have fun, work on myself, take baths, like just not not work a lot and just focus on meditating. I think at that point I was meditating like 3 times a day and just
Right.
to see what I could manifest, just to see. And I manifested. Now we're going to get into this because I use neuroscience, but in this wasn't really neuroscience based. This was just to see the stereotypical, if I meditate, if I visualize, if I feel good, does this work? And it did. I
Hmm.
manifested a lot of high paying clients, but I also manifested stuff out of nowhere that just dropped in. Like, I made money with a car that I buy. I was back home and just driving around town. And long story short, I had two incidences in 2 weeks where I ended up pocketing more money than my car was worth.
Wow.
And keeping the car.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is really interesting. How can I start to play around with this? Because I don't want to teach anybody to manifest that way because it's not consistent and it takes time for you to get there. And
Hmm.
it's like, who has time to meditate 3 times a day, like for hours at a time? So I'm going to leave it there and I'm going to let you kind of ask some questions, but that's kind of like the baseline.
Yeah, interesting. And most of us, we don't know how to manifest our money, and obviously not scientifically, there is
Yeah.
very few people actually do it. Like I spoke to a lot of entrepreneurs, business person as well, like coming from money, they build their money as well, but not many of them are seen like talking about that on a scientifically like they have done or in there. So how does your method works and how you see it when you're manifesting money with like a science based?
Right. So what had happened at that point? So I had coaching clients at that point, and I started to teach my method. And so I'll get into that in just a second. But I started to teach my method to them. And this is like, when I say neuroscience, I'm specifically talking about neuroplasticity. We'll dive into that more in a bit. But I started doing this with my clients and they were blown away. They were getting crazy results. And they were like, why are you not talking about this? Why are you not teaching this? And so it was really from them that they were like, we think this is your sweet spot. And when I started to really sit in it, I was like, what really lights me up? And it was money. And not because I'm quote unquote greedy and want more money, because the empowerment that comes from knowing that you can create money and clients anytime in your life. And I want to be able to teach that to people so they know that they can create their reality. And so I was like, okay, I want to start teaching this, but I don't want to do it in the traditional sit there, visualize, affirmations and stuff like that, because it doesn't always work. Why does it not always work? It's because they're not dealing with the unconscious and subconscious brain. And so this is where neuroscience comes in. So I want to just say really quick, I am not a neuroscientist by like degree, but I do study neuroscience and I use neuroplasticity. I actually did a live with a neuroscientist recently. So I really want to stay integrous with the scientific community, but I do feel like for transparency, I want to say that. So I started realizing that what happens is that for me, I'll try to give you an example for me. So growing up in Tennessee, it's like never talk about money. It's very considered very rude. Money is such a taboo subject, and there's a lot of shame. It's like you make too much money, you like money too much, you're a bad person. You know, if you don't make enough money,
I thought in the whole America, like everyone likes money, right?
Well, I mean, yes, but
or like a certain area.
There's these like cultural, especially for the really Christian areas, which I'm from, the very religious areas, it's like taboo to talk about money.
Wow.
But there's this underlying thing that like you should make money. So there's a lot of shame around if you're not making enough money. But if you're too into money, then you're like, oh, you know, that person's like too into themselves. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so growing up, I was like, okay, I want to be able to teach people how to make money. So when I talk about neuroscience and neuroplasticity, I'm talking about rewiring your neural pathways so your brain and body are in alignment with what you want. And that means, so would it be okay if I just ask you a question? You can say no, but it would be about money. Okay. Cause I feel like it's very experiential and I want people to see what it is that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So you can think about your money goal. You don't have to say it out loud unless you want to, but I'm just curious if you can think about that goal. It can be monthly or yearly. And I want you to think about it. And I want you to kind of scan your body for sensations. And what do you notice?
Feeling excited.
Yeah. Is it like kind of fluttery like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is such an important topic. I actually just wrote posts about this yesterday. So why I tell people not to manifest from an excited place is because excitement's almost identical to fear in the body. And we've been told, oh, manifest, like, yay, like celebrate money, be excited. But then we're kind of telling the universe, okay, that's not natural and normal for me. And the goal is for it to feel the most natural and normal. So you're unattached to the outcome, right? So then what happens is like we're rewiring that neural pathway. So we're attaching a new feeling to the thought of money. So then you'll allow yourself to have it. If it's too sensational, what I find with clients is that they'll spend money. They'll either block themselves from having it or spend money because it doesn't feel comfortable in the body. It doesn't feel safe. That really sensational, it's like I've had too much coffee almost feeling. Now, sometimes it depends on the person. Sometimes that isn't the case, but I would say majority of the time it is. So the goal is to first figure out your baseline and your nervous system, because neuroscience is just the study of how your brain and body communicate. My job is to get your brain and body on board with what you want, specifically money.
Interesting. And a lot of us, like I mentioned earlier, like we don't know like how to manifest our system or how to get started with that. Like no one knows there is not much information on Google as well. And even though there is, like it's too complicated for a simple person to understand. So I seen like you coach on other people as well. So if someone come to you and they be running their businesses and they want to establish the same alignment, like how you are, how you think about it, how you approach them, like how you help them in terms of like their mindset needs to be changed, or like how they can implement it on their personal life, on a business life, or like a overall money mindset.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I want to start by saying everyone is different, right? It's a baseline of what's going on, and that's in your own body and brain. And that's a collection of stories and experiences that we've had from the past. So my job is to get very clear on what those stories and experiences are, to basically be like, to reflect it back to you and show you how it's not serving you. So let's say, for example, so to answer your question really easily is like, I have questions that I start out with, and I'm watching people's body language, because their body language will tell me very quickly when something's going on. Like you'll shift, you'll tense up, you'll feel really relaxed. I can tell. But I ask you to answer questions and from your body, from a body reaction, because a lot of time we're answering questions from our brain. Do I think I can make 20K months? And what happens is your brain will say yes. but your body will tense up and be like, no, that doesn't feel safe. Or the opposite will happen. It'll be like your brain will say, no, you can't do that. And your body will be super like chill. So then it's like, okay, figuring out what's going on for you and then rewiring that neural pathway. And so what I do is we're just inserting a new feeling. So tapping EFT is I don't know, are you familiar with like tapping? So I'm like tapping right now. I don't think people will be able to see me, but EFT, journaling. I also have a background in clinical hypnosis. Hypnosis can work really well with this, but we're just getting rid of any limiting beliefs, thought patterns, and sensations in the body related to whatever you want. It doesn't have to be money, but I use money as a way. First of all, money work lights me up because it's allowing me to give my clients a lot of empowerment, but it's also very confronting. So it's going to bring up your shit, for lack of a better term. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but lack of a better term, very quickly. So I'll be able to find out, for like lack of a better term, any trauma that you've had very quickly, because it's like money, entrepreneurship, romantic relationships are the things that are really going to bring up all of your stories. And so my job is to show you that the story isn't true, and then to rewire that neural pathway so it then has a different feeling. So then in your body, it's maybe no longer excited or tense. It's like, oh yeah, that. I learned this from when I was younger, and my family told me not to talk about money because that means I'm bad. And so I thought money was bad, but now I could see that was my brain just trying to keep me safe. So I didn't keep doing something that my family thought was inappropriate. And then at that time, it served you. It really helped you. But now that you're an adult, it might be showing up in your business as blocking you. And so it's to be able to show you, hey, do you see that this served you at some level, but now it's no longer serving you? And people are like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But whatever story that you have or experience you have is, of course, normal, or like, you know, your own specific thing.
Yeah. So it's basically, for like a simplifying, it will be like what your limiting belief you had in the past, or like whatever you believed in it, you need to change that. And when you change it, it's not only you're accepting it in your brain level, you need to accept it with your body and all of your feelings, right? Like when you're saying like I'm a millionaire, do you actually believe it, you millionaire, or like you feel it, or like that way you walk? I'm not saying like you walk like an arrogant, but you have to have like a certain confidence, like I'm $1 million man, or like for yourself. I'm not saying like you have to show other people like how much you're making or anything like that. Are you believing in yourself, like, or like are you thinking, oh no, if everyone's saying me millionaire, but eventually I'm $100,000 worth, right? So believe that and feel it on your within. And to be honest, like 5 years back when I was a millionaire, I used to tell myself like I'm going to be millionaire. The thing is, when reality hits in, and I used to be like, no, I'm not. I don't believe in it. Then like later, when I asked like my wife, like, when do you think I'll be a millionaire? She's like, about age 27. But actually I become age 26. My company was more than $1 million. And then when I seen that, I was like, I've seen the lot of difference compared to when I used to say that 3-4 years back, when I'm a millionaire, but I didn't feel it. And that wasn't anything going my way. But when I actually felt it, and when actually being there, then I realized there's so much difference in it. Right now, if I talk to any client, they can see and believe. Before, like I have to do about 30-40 presentation closing a one deal. Right now, if I talk to 2-3 people closing one deal, what has changed? Not my product, not my services. It's just me and me living on my product and services. And that actually come across with it the same way, like approach on the business and money as well. So when you help a client, do you think like is the immediate fix, or do you think it takes longer time? Everyone is different. Everyone needs to be like believe in themselves. So what's the average length you see like someone's going to be change their mindset, or like a shifting on a money mindset?
Yeah. So I want to start by saying, and that's a really great question. I want to start by saying that it's not just mindset, because I feel like sometimes that's where people miss the mark. That's why affirmations don't work. I'm so glad that you asked this, because it's a really good segue into this. So affirmations sometimes work, but not all the time. And this is why. So if you're like, I'm a millionaire, there might be a part of you that's going bullshit. And that's actually creating, and then you're going to judge that part of yourself, and that's creating more resistance. That's actually you're going in the opposite way at that point. So it's like, okay, what can you say? And changing the verbiage is really important. So, okay, can I start small and say something that actually feels better in my body? So my job, if you came to me and said, I want to be a millionaire, okay, I would say, okay, I would start with a list of questions, one of which I do everything on a scale from 1 to 10, from your body, how much do you want that? Okay, so that's going to give me insight, because a lot of times we're going after stuff we don't even want.
Yeah.
The second part is, like, how safe does it feel to have it? How much do you expect it to happen? Like, I'm starting to get very clear on where your mind is. But what happens is that our mindset is very conscious. So my job is to go into the unconscious, or, unconscious is not really the correct term, but for this conversation, we're going to say the unconscious, technically the subconscious. But anyways, so we're going to go in the unconscious. And that's why I'm asking these questions and I'm looking at your body language, because then we're reverse engineering what's wonky in your unconscious. Mm-hmm. Affirmations are very conscious because you know what you believe and what you don't. But I'll give you an example. I had a client recently that was stuck at like 20K months, because my whole thing is scaling, helping business owners scale from 6 figures to multiple 6 figures. So she was stuck at 20K months, and we were trying to get really clear on why. And basically there was this story, there were 2 stories that came up. And I want to say this on your podcast, because I know you have a lot of business owners. The number one thing blocking her was taxes. Oh, I'm going to have to pay more taxes. I'm going to have to hire a CPA. Like, I'm going to have to do all this. And consciously, She wasn't going around saying, oh my gosh, like, I can't make more money because I'm afraid of taxes. We got that out unconsciously. She wasn't even aware that it was there. So she was able to go get the help she needed to calm her nervous system and her brain down to be like, okay, I'm safe to do that. And the second story was, if I make more money, it's going to cause problems in my marriage because my husband won't be supportive. And she consciously wasn't aware of that. Sometimes you're consciously aware of it, but sometimes you're not. And literally, I'm not kidding, guys. She didn't really do anything different. We tweaked a little bit of her price point, and we did come out with a little bit of a new offer, but everything else was pretty much similar. And that was 4 weeks that we worked together, and she went from 20K to 40K in 4 weeks. Wow. In a month. So this can happen very quickly, but that's when I'm working with people one-on-one. It's a little bit harder when they're doing a course or they're doing group programs, because I'm not giving you my undivided attention, although I do groups and courses as well. But this is what we're talking about. This can happen from one session. And people get different. Obviously, they get different stuff. If you're coming to me and you have a lot of resistance, we're gonna have to clear a lot of resistance. If you have financial trauma, like growing up, like my dad and grandmother passed away. Oh yeah, we talked about this when I was young, and I actually got a large chunk of money from that. And there was a point where I could not make more money than that in my business. And guess what? I started doing my unconscious work, and that came out. When I make X amount of money, bad things happen. People die. People leave me. Think about that, guys. Like, and that is financial trauma. Yeah. That's like absolutely something that happened that was very traumatic to me, that I was holding in my body, because when I thought about that income level, I would get like all these physical reactions. And I was like, holy shit, I cannot believe that has been with me since I was 16 years old and now showing up in my business.
Yeah. And it's everything like we create ourselves, like them story we create over and over, and it's stuck with us forever. And you need someone like yourself, like a comment and like, hey, you need to see the different picture over there. People are already doing it. Like, what are you trying to achieve? But thing is there, like, we need to unwrap them, like find out like what is actually causing you, what you created on your brain like years ago and still like haunting you till that day. Yeah. And once you uncover that, then you realize, oh, it's just like a one thing, like I couldn't do it like for years, but if someone comes to me and now telling me this needs to be fixed, and within a day or two, like, you're a completely different person. It doesn't really take years to like sort that out. So Ferryn, it's been a great pleasure having you on the show. Like, we coming to the end of this, we can have like for hours in the conversation.
I know, we can just go on forever.
Yeah. So those who's listening, if anyone wants to learn more about your manifesting money, or like how they can increase their income, where is the best place to find you or learn more about you?
Yeah, so Instagram is my main platform, and bear with me, I'm relatively new for bringing my business online. I was offline for quite some time. So Instagram is going to be the best place. I'm there daily. Look at my stories, and my highlights on my Instagram is like a lot of golden nuggets. If it's okay, I'm also going to give you a link to gift your audience a free tapping training. So they'll be able to get that for free if they want it. Yeah, so Instagram mostly is where I hang out.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, at the end of this podcast, it's been great having show with you as well. So I wish you best of luck with your personal life and your business, and you have a wonderful day ahead. Thanks for coming today.
You too. Thank you so much. It was nice being here. Bye.
You're most welcome. Thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you got some value from it and enjoyed our conversation. So if you want to learn more about Ferryn, visit her Instagram profile or reach out to her if you need any kind of help. So until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.